Good morning. Good morning. I hope everyone had a wonderful evening, whatever it may have been. No sleeping, intermittent sleeping. Volume? Okay. I think I'm going to start with reading a couple of things. Sometimes I bring things to read and I don't read them at all. But I kind of like to start with readings. It feels kind of old school, like church, right? You know, a reading from, and then with all the oral instructions and stuff, it feels apt. The first thing I wanted to just read here is something that came forward out of a retreat in 2021, at one of the Full Circle retreats. And I embellished it a little bit this morning. And then I wanted to read something from Trungpa Rinpoche that has been very touching for me and that I've been reading kind of every day for a while. What exactly is at the heart of matter? The heart of existence? The heart of appearance? What do we find when we look into the very essence, the heart of life as it is, prior to all the descriptions? We might be surprised to find a poignant, tender, empty responsiveness, naked of a personal me, empty of a doer of deeds, a thinker of thoughts, and an experiencer of experience. Totally impersonal and absolutely intimate. Liberation without division of any kind. We find that beyond conventional conceptual description, there is only an ever-giving, compassionate, immediate, spontaneous presence, awakeness. It's beyond states. It's beyond states, emotional states, mind states, states. It's a way rather than a state. There is a constancy, a quality of uncaused love rather than a conditioned love that is in relationship to circumstance. An uncreated love that is the heart of vast, generous wholeness. Not someone who is awake or someone who is enlightened. There is no someone with a particular position, such as good or enlightened. There is only awakeness that is consciously awake to and as itself. Unconditioned and uncaused love at the heart of being, pouring forth in this and every holy instant as itself for itself. Trungpa. When you look into your heart, you find to your surprise that your heart is empty. You find that you are looking into outer space. What are you? Who are you? Where is your heart? If you really look, you won't find anything tangible or solid. If you search for the awakened heart, if you put your hand through the rib cage and feel for it, there's nothing there but tenderness. You feel sore and soft. And if you open your eyes to the rest of the world, you feel tremendous sadness. This grief doesn't come from being mistreated. You don't feel sad because someone has insulted you or because you feel lack or impoverished. Rather, This experience of sadness is unconditioned. It occurs because your heart is completely open, exposed. It is the pure, raw heart. Even if a mosquito lands on it, you feel so touched. It is this tender heart of a warrior that has the power to heal the world. I love that last sentence. Because the mind generally doesn't put tenderness, vulnerability, raw openness in the same venue as warrior. It's the tender heart, the heart of a warrior that's going to change the world. You know? The unqualified, unconditioned, uncaused. And we've been talking a lot about labeling. I think we might be surprised to find a lot of the time that the hardest, most significant surrender of a label, a category, a description, is the label of me. Me. Me-ness. Even with great realization and glimpses and true having met and directly experienced, inhabited, metabolized the ground of being, there can still be a someone having that experience, a someone just holding on, because, and usually I think this image, this label, this meanness that exists as a psychological structure, a referencing system, is held on very strongly even after we have seen and met and loved many of the remnants of that, you know, the deepest identities, as Sharon calls the precious pearls. There's often still a holding out piece of not good enough. Not me. I'm not to be the enlightened one. Not good. Not worthy. Not enough. And it's a little bit of a trick, isn't it? Because we don't think of the superego, that critic, that judge, that source of psychological insufficiency as an identity. But man, is it an identity? A label, whatever word we want to use. That last, I say last, I mean, it's eternally unfolding, infinitely, eternally unfolding. But I'm going to go ahead and use that word. That last welcoming home and surrender of me is, well, as Padma Sambhava said to us yesterday, there is a place of falling, an abyss that is you. I loved that. That is the experience. That's absolutely the experience. There is a place of falling, an abyss that is you. And the mind's version of that abyss, emptiness, non-attachment, the mind's version of that can be very frightening. A bardo, a very frightening place to be, a frightening label. But the heart of everything, us and everything, is it has absolute capacity and understanding, and it was a place that has never been divided. The language of the heart, the knowing of the heart, the experience, I'll go ahead and use that word, experience of the heart, is undividedness, naturalness. It's a quality, not a state of mind, not a state of emotional stability, instability, all the stuff. It's not in relationship to anything because it is all there is. It's all there is this. I like the way he used the word tenderness. I sat with a teacher a couple of times, not for many, just a couple of times, and he was a Sanskrit scholar. And I love people who can speak a lot of different languages because vocabulary just changes so dramatically when you look at it from different languages and perspectives and how words came into being. But whatever Sanskrit word, and I don't know what it is, that we have translated into detachment, non-attachment. His opinion, through his knowledge of Sanskrit and English, was that word is better translated as tender poignancy. And that's certainly the experience here. It's not non-attachment. Whatever is here moves amidst and amongst everything in a spontaneous constancy that is loving of, in, of, through, and as itself. It recognizes itself. So, I mean, I know that the Tibetans have a completely different ability and capacity with being born, but most of us as babies, yes, we were pure awareness, but not consciously that. So we're coming into that consciously, where the awakeness that is consciously begins to see, touch, taste, smell, feel, live itself. It lives itself from that orientation, from that view. But if we think we're going to get there through concepts, I mean, every master, every path, what did Padmasambhava say to us yesterday? Well, the Buddha nature is here, and it is us. But this belief in separation, this belief in me, you know, it's so deep, so habituated. And mostly, you know, I've been teaching for 10 years, and the experience here as well, that terror, there's a terror that sometimes, I mean, not for everyone, obviously, it's very unique and individual and all of that, but I do like to talk about it in case somebody hears it and it's comforting to them, because there can be a terror with that surrender of personal selfhood. That label, that referencing system, it's a psychological referencing system. And a lot of the time, it holds our wounding, because if there is an image, a label, an image of self, a me, well, that image, that label, is not essential or fundamental or powerful. It's a mirage. So it can be wounded. And that actually creates like a groove in the brain, an actual record of it physiologically. Or, my mommy, whatever, didn't show up when I was, or, whatever they are, the deepest ones that start making these memories, these physiological structures in our brains that we then refer to as selfhood. We refer to it as selfhood. And it feels isolated, separate, scared, uncertain, vulnerable. Because it's it's the foundational piece that the whole house of cards is teetering upon. And the whole thing shows up as it really is, which is nothing, absolutely nothing. But these images that we've identified strongly and habitually and mostly unconsciously with I don't think that they can be returned to love, dissolved, welcomed home through a conceptual framework. It just doesn't happen that way. We can give it to the heart that has the innate capacity, or the ground that is the home place. But when we give it to the mind, and even our fresh insights, something fresh arises in meditation or just in a life experience. It's fresh, and you recognize it as fresh because it doesn't have that looping, oh, I recognize that as a Jennifer, thing. It's fresh. It dawns. It's an insight. It's fresh and it arises. It's not a top-down idea, formulated out of belief. It's fresh. Even that experience is generally very quickly co-opted by the referencing system. The structure, the referencing structure, the psychological structure, and related to memory. And the mind can't possibly understand the way, the life, the way of being beyond memory. The intellectual, conceptual frameworking doesn't have an understanding of that. We can't take that with us. If you're lucky, it comes back online in a way that serves the life and the way of being and the way of love. Here it didn't come back online for a matter of years, and it was debilitating. So it's not like I recommend it, although it did get the point across that life can be lived without intellect and names of things. But it's not very, you can't navigate very easily. If that's happening for you, just, this is all divinely orchestrated. This is like the roses unfolding. We can't sit here and peel the petals off to get to where we're going real quickly or where we think we should be. This is opening as a divine expression, this wholeness, this allness. So it will, by now in this room, I'm sure, I'm preaching to the choir, we understand that there are periods of awkwardness and disorientation as we relax out of the allegiance to the believing mind, the believing, conceptualizing story of me. And when I say that, I've had feedback, I like me, I like my story. I was a hospice nurse for a long time. And essentially what my role was to go to houses in rural Eastern Oregon and listen to the stories of me, life review. And I love it. I still love it. I can't think of anything more rich. But when those are believed as the fundamental, essential ground, essence, those stories, then they become so limited. They limit the life. They are the engine of fear. The life is to be enjoyed. Sharon and I were talking before retreat, and I think I was asking her, but I always felt like one of Adyashanti's strongest pointing outs was at the very end of his talk. He would look everybody with those just eyes of absolute nothingness and say, enjoy your day. You whose day it is, make it beautiful. Take out your rainbow colors, that it will be beautiful. This is our day. This is the gift. And when we enjoy, we're right here, right now. We're not referencing. What stands us still? I think it's a great question. What stands me still? What dumbfounds me? When am I dumbfounded? When am I stood still? When are those moments where the referencing and the labeling and the naming and categorizing and organizing around the psychological structure cease? How about when we very first wake up in the morning? That was Ramina's pointer, and I love that pointer. Before it all assembles. If you stay really, really present, you can watch it assemble. The aches, the pains, the da-da-das, the do-da-doos, the da-da-das. You can literally watch it, recongeal So all of us have this experience daily, all the time. We're just not noticing it because the attention is so strongly, strongly embedded, and maybe not for people here in this room, but mostly very conditioned habitually to follow the thought stream. Follow it. Follow it. And then it starts referencing the me, and then all the beliefs come in, and then all the shaky ground. And if we look deeply, which all of us have, we can see that really everything, including this me that the just mind feels it cannot live without, is nothing. But not nothing in the way of the mind's perception. I don't think it's a popular word in Buddhism, I don't know, but here, it's uncaused love. Love that is not in relationship to anything. It's uncaused. It's throughout all circumstances, within all circumstances, and it's the way of this generous, instantaneous, spontaneous, unborn, holy instant. Where does it come from? How did it get here? Why do we get to enjoy it? Through these amazing senses. We're just going along. And the radiance that is before, behind, beyond seeingness, seen, and seer, immovable, unchangeable, constancy, at restness, peacefulness is right here and right now. And what a joy to live from and through and as that. And it isn't at least here, it isn't a wiping out of all the, what the mind would have called challenges or hard times. It's a fullness of that. And everything becomes a paradox, everything. Because all that we've heard, the joy and the pain are one, is lived. It's not believed, it is. It is. And about all you can say about it, in the beginning, I just felt like, I used to tell Tim, I'm not really fit for public consumption because I don't have anything to say about anything. And it was the truth. Because the most you could say was, nothingness is, everything is. That is. This is. And it seems to be born and lived and enjoyed from love. Including this, which is just remarkable how difficult that step is. This. this expression, this individuated, divine reflection of the whole. You know, every piece, what we call peace, it's a hologram, it's a reflection of everything, of allness. It's only, you know, the experiencer itself that thinks there can't be life without it. Life doesn't require an experiencer, a personal experiencer. I find, what were the words? You can firmly resolve. Padmasambhava, you can firmly resolve. He was saying it over and over and over. We can firmly resolve that this is what we are, right here and right now. Not achieving, not attaining, not fixating, not getting, not now. And if there was ever a time for this to come home, truly, it's now. I don't know about you, but I feel like this is the time to stop fussing around. What did Adya say? We've sailed the ship of insanity as far as we're going to be able to. And the taboo around, I'm not a Buddha, I'm not a enlightened one, not me, has to, enough. The seeingness is the same. This landscape down here, below the conception, the psychology, the stories, the labeling, all of that, same. Ever-giving presence. And beyond that personhood is the capacity naturally, not a generating, not a manufacturing, not a, we're all way beyond keeping like a gratitude journal. And if that's your thing, I'm not dissing it, but I mean, a spontaneously arising, compassionate, emptiness beyond personhood is the capacity, what did Trungpa say, to heal the world. Heal the world. Not a me with a program. And there might be a program, but it will arise in responsive immediacy as each moment informs next best move. You really have no idea. I mean that like precisely, there's no idea around the response, the naturalness that arises. Sobbing grief? Could be. Enough type fierce ferocity? Could be. Total quietness? You know, everything is at the disposal of life. Everything's included. There are no limits. So the mind's ideas don't have a lot of relevance. If they're in service, they come in very fresh and they're recognized. But the conditioning is just kind of like, oh, yeah, there it goes again. It's a simple beyond the tolerance of the intellect. A simple devotion to what actually is. A simple devotion to what is. So when we find ourselves revolving with the attention around the obscuration of labeling, naming, categorizing, narrating, believing. Narration can happen if it's not believed. It just quickly flows on down the stream. We begin to watch and notice what happens when we believe the thoughts and we attend to the thoughts, and the difference there. There's a difference when things are not believed or they're just kind of benignly questioned, like, maybe, I don't know, but not grabbed or pushed, and the attention is brought back to what's actual. Then most of it just kind of flows on by, becomes really relevant, and you can see the beginnings of the story, and it'll be like, oh yeah, I know that one really well, but there's space now in recognition, so you just kind of, oh, no thank you. Dr. Hawkins always used to say, no thanks. No thank you. You know the seeds of reaction. When we've sat enough and we can really watch our tendencies, you start to see the seeds. It's not just knee-jerk anymore. This happens and whoo. You see that's the beginning right there. And then there's a belief around it. There's a belief around that seductive thought pattern. And the belief inspires a whole physiological process. It amps up the nervous system, it heightens the senses, it creates a whole emotional landscape to augment, talk about virtual reality. And, we've been conditioned to think that's all real. But as we sit, and I know you all know this, you begin to kind of, oh, no thanks. Or just even, oh yeah, I see that. That's understandable. But not on the menu today. But an open-hearted, and not from a place of the heart we believe that can open and close and contract and be broken and all of that human frailty and beauty, from that which has never been separate, divided, touched. It's complete, it's wholeheartedness. To live from there, as Trungpa was pointing to, he's using words like raw and naked. Because that little defensible territory called me doesn't sit on top of it anymore. The compensation, the defending, the positionality isn't available. And at first that can be really startling. At least it was here, like there would be a reach for a calculated strategy or defense, but there were no edges. There were no boundaries. There were no limits, so you couldn't find it anymore. It's just, oh, yeah. As Sharon says, this too. So it's understandable. And I would encourage and invite gentleness around the very obvious unfolding that is occurring for people in this room and people all over the planet of the dissolution of a personal me. We're not moving forward with that. We are moving out of separateness, out of the world of oppositional forces trying to come into power. And we're moving into true power, which Khenpo Lobsang told me is emptiness plus compassion. Indivisibility. We are laying down the self-referencing, the structure that we've used to engage with and reference life. And boy, does that feel frightening. Look at the world. We have context. Those of us in this room have context. Many, 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 many people do not have context for what's happening. And as our daughter would say, it looks like a shit show. It's the end of all that. Separateness, belief in my accomplishments, my successes, my me, my thing. The mind will be like, oh my God, guard the treasure. Because there's so much archetypal stuff that goes along with words like impoverished, going to God as a child with poverty and nakedness, all that. It's like, really? What does that mean? Like, I got to give, the mind's going to go, no, thank you. Empty, life is full and rich and abundant and is waiting as potential to give so that all of it can actually become solid in this appearance world. The whole idea of efforting to gain and, one-upmanship and all the rest is an illusion. Sufficiency is, abundance is, joy is, beauty is. We're parting the veil, blowing away the mist, polishing the mirror, whatever metaphor you want to use, so that it can be consciously brought into manifest reality. But not through personhood. Liberated, enjoyed individuation, yes. It's a very different world. It's a totally different world. And you hear all the masters say it, but it's true. And how amazing, what a precious, it's indescribable. It's indescribable to have community through this transition, this transformation, this transmutation. I mean, really? Here we are, all together. Out of all the billions of scenarios, let's see if I want to, I know what I want to read to end. I love this, if I can find it. This is, I don't know how to pronounce Chinese, but Xu Yun was a Chinese Chan master. He lived to be 120-something years old. He was born in 1840, and somewhere around 1840, they don't totally know, and had his passage in 1959. But I dearly love this. It's called Searching for the Dharma. You've traveled up 10,000 steps in search of the Dharma. So many long days in the archives, copying. The gravity of the Tang teaching and the profundity of the Sung teaching make heavy baggage. Here, I've picked you a bunch of wildflowers. Their meaning is the same, and they're much easier to carry. Thank you. So we'll take like a 15, well, how about we come back at 11:30 and sit? Yeah? Take a little break? Okay.